Jay Pettry joins the show today of Sherdog.com, and we have a very special topic to talk to y'all about today. Our favorite fighter in the UFC, Askar Mozharov. Jay has a great story about Askar. He started the week at 21-7, if I'm not mistaken.
25-7.
25-7.
Yeah, he was a hot shot.
And he ended his week with a record of 19-13 after getting crucifix knocked out by Alonzo Menifield. It was beautiful. And it was just retribution for honestly him lying. So, Jay, thanks for joining me, man. How are you doing?
I'm really happy to be here and talk to you because, first of all, I like talking to you and hanging out with you. And second of all, because the story is just, it's a story that has become near and dear to my heart by accident. And it's the culmination of like 5 years at least of grief and turmoil and inner discussion and conversation. So look, I don't pick a side when a fight happens. I don't go, yeah, so-and-so won. I've tried to, ever since I started in media, I'm currently the associate editor of Sherdog. I don't want to have any side. I don't want to have any dog in the fight, so to speak. But there was that little feeling, that little internal feeling like, okay, that's one for Sherdog. So I'm good to be here and hanging out with you, man.
So if you missed it, Askar Mozharov fought Alonzo Menifield this weekend, and it was about as one-sided as you can get. Now, I will give him some credit. He's a flashy, he's an exciting striker, and after he got up from that first takedown, he landed some good strikes on Alonzo, but then he started swinging wild hooks, very amateurish, and Alonzo shot another takedown and got the crucifix and knocked him out. And I think the biggest takeaway, well, first of all, before we get into takeaways of this, why don't you go ahead and tell us the story of Askar Mozharov? I keep butchering his last name.
It's all right.
I got
so many names. It's okay, man.
I've got a soft spot for Ukraine, but this guy's he's hilarious. So I'm gonna give you the floor, open floor. Okay. Go ahead and take it from the top.
All right. Now I won't give you the JRE 3-hour version of this ridiculous story, so I'll keep it abridged. I work, as I said, I work with Sherdog, and I work with the staff members of Fight Finder. Now, Fight Finder has been around since the early 2000s, and it's just been chronicling every fight that's ever happened for the history of fighting. I know you know this, but for the sake of audience members, and we gather the information of all the fights around the world, and our staff is composed of about 50 or so international staff members from California all the way to Ukraine, to China, we're working on China, to Japan, everywhere in the world. We're trying to represent a lot of representation in Brazil as well, and we gather the information and obviously present it. It's a free service for those listening. It's always been a free service. It will always be a free service. And so about 5 years ago, we got a tip. This is before I was personally working with Sherdog. I believe at the time I might have been like a Sherdog moderator on the forum or something like that, but no way, shape, or form touching this. To turn out that this gentleman, who now goes by the name of Askar Mozharov, was named Artur Sherdog. Now, the transliteration for certain these language, Artur, similar thing, Shadakov, so that kind of thing. Right. They can be little lost in translation bits in how it's typed out and written out for some people. So this gentleman was born roughly Artur Sherdog, and he took his pro fight career as a welterweight, didn't do very well, started working his way up, taking fights against fighters that had never fought before, and building a record that on paper you're like, oh, okay, all right, he's won 7 in a row with 6 first-round knockouts. That's not bad. And building and building and crafting, and it was more. It wasn't like a fighter going through their career and just fighting and doing the thing. It was almost a sculpted type of approach that he went to build this record, to build this profile. And anytime he'd take on an opponent that had, any sort of, I don't want to say a pulse because that's rude, but that fought back, that didn't fold, he was beaten, and this went back and forth for many years. And then something unexpected started. So he, around 2017, he changed his name to Askar Mozharov, and then reached out separately to other staff members, essentially saying, "Hi, I'm Askar Mozharov. Here's my profile. I noticed that there's some guy named Arthur Shadkov that's registered to my profile. Can you get those losses off of there?" Very
Very smooth.
yeah, that essentially that kind of situation. And this went on because, okay, all right, I and he might have been from Belarus instead of Ukraine. So like, oh, I could understand how a staff member would be like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. All right, let's do that. And cut to a week, 2 weeks ago, so May 20 something. Askar's about to fight Alonzo Menifield in the UFC. Now, first of all, this guy's been signed to Bellator, and then he didn't fight for Bellator. He's been signed to PFL, didn't fight in PFL. Signed to the UFC. Now he's going to finally fight in the UFC. And he, Askar Mozharov, personally, as in not through a channel or intermediary, personally through Facebook, reaches out to one of our staff members, one of our International Fight Finder staff members, demanding a loss be removed from his profile. So here's the thing. We have the video of the fight. This gentleman is a very distinctive, large gentleman. The tattoo, the appearance, yes. It's you can't be like, oh, gee, it's a different guy with a giant neck tattoo, a green shoulder tattoo, and a chest print that looks like Conor McGregor's, except for it's a little different.
And he said it's different.
Yes, yeah. There's a little difference there, and yeah, we saw the video, we saw everything. So we were like, no, what are you doing? And that started the investigation of, okay, let's check into this situation here, because he's trying right now, a week and a half before his fight, to manipulate his fight record. Let's see what's happening here. And we determined, after hours and hours of digging, going to international sites and checking fight footage and going back and forth, to determine, oh my goodness, this guy actually has many more losses on his record than we thought he did. And he would represent himself as Arthur Shadkov. In fact, there were fights after he legally changed his name where he would be legally Askar Mozharov, which is fine. Change your name, go right ahead. But he would then fight as Arthur Shadkov
to hide a loss,
to hide a certain appearance that seems like that. and this guy, I mean, I could go on for days about this guy here, so I'll try and spare y'all. So we determined that yes, there are multiple more losses on this profile. We did the digging of, okay, let us find the transliteration of the Shadkov, Sadkov, that was another one, to find out, and let's plug those in and determine, oh my gosh, that's him in 2014. He's a little baby. He's a lot smaller. He's not 205 jacked. He's 170 dripping wet kind of situation there. But that sure is him, all right, fighting in 2013, 2014 in the Oplot Challenge. Oh my gosh, that's him. And then we started digging into the wins. Just, it isn't a personal attack on him whatsoever. It is simply line by line. Let's find this fight. Let's find this fight. Let's find this fight. Okay, there's one. Good. Oh yeah, he really did beat this guy. Or, okay, he beat this guy. Okay. It was a spinning hook kick. It bumped into the guy's ear. The guy fell over like he exploded. You can go, okay, fine. You got the win, even if it's a little suspect. Fine. It's a win's a win's a win. We're neutral arbiters. We can't go, well, I don't think that looks real. No, that's not our gig.
Is it official is the question there. And if
exactly.
The commission says it's official, it's official.
And that's exactly right. And so PPC, it's an official fight. Okay, that's an official fight. Cool, fine. That's as far as we go. And through the glory of some of our international staff members who, multilingual, I can read French, and I'm starting to learn how to read Russian because of working with the team so much. We were able to determine in Mandarin and in other different kinds of languages to plug in and find so-and-so event, like IPFC, Young Fang Championship, whatever. Okay, fine. Just whatever event he's competing on. And we find the whole event. We find the news article in Mandarin or whatever it may have been, and be like, wait a second. Where's Askar? Where is this gentleman here? And so some of these events that he claimed to be on, he didn't show up. I take it back. It's not that he didn't show up. He never was there to begin with.
Right.
So he would plug in himself, or representatives of him would plug in his information and go, hey, he fought here. And they would have just enough information that it would be compelling and be like, okay, here's the picture. Here's a grainy picture of him smoking some guy, but you can kind of see in the background that it says Askar Mozharov and the big lights and whatever. And it's just enough to get by. But the fine-tooth comb approach pulled his record as the week progressed to what it was. And it was fascinating that we kept finding. In fact, overnight, one of our staff members who was in a very different time zone as us, like, he reached out to me at 6 a.m. I responded to him, oh my gosh, there it is. There's the event, and he's nowhere to be found. So there are 2 more losses. This was the 21 and 12 to 19 and 12 situation of the day or two before.
This is the second record.
This is the second record. And we're like, oh my gosh, he was claimed to be at a one-night tournament, but spoiler alert, this wasn't a one-night tournament fight card. And he never fought on it. I have the fights. I have everything about it. It was a very regimented. There are 3 fights in Kung Fu. There are 3 fights in kickboxing. There are 3 fights in free fighting MMA. And it's the whole gala thing like that. And that's it. So to see that he somehow snuck 2 wins on there was very suspect. So this whole culmination of everything is something I haven't seen before. I mean, I've worked with the team. I've been with Sherdog since 2018, and in any capacity like this. And I've seen weirdness. I've seen fraud. I write a series called FF Files, where, again, I'm just one guy. I'm the guy who receives the information from the people. I'll get the stories. I'll ask whatever is going on and chronicle it all and put it together. I am not the investigator that goes, oh, I have all of the information. No, there's so many fights that happen. Are they crazy that there's a king fight finder or something like that sitting on top of the throne going, nodding? Then
I approve this win.
Exactly, with a staff and a giant beard. There's a conception of that in the world, by the way.
Of course.
People believe that. I have never seen anything like this at the major level. I've seen accidental, I've seen frauds, I've seen sneaky things. I've even seen real information that come in about UFC fighters. Damir Ramirez, right?
Yes.
He's a UFC lightweight. He's working his way up. Well, this past year, this is a pretty thing. This is actually I might be breaking for the world. Damir Ramirez has 3 additional very real wins of a one-night tournament he competed on. It was called Alash Pride, and he just, it was way back when. It was 2016, 20 whatever. What? He ran through. I mean, it was, the competition wasn't very, very heavy, but it was a one night. It was an 8-man tournament, and he blew through it. And so he is actually 22-1 now instead of 19 or whatever, something like that.
Why wouldn't he like reach out about that?
Isn't that crazy? That somebody did eventually. I mean, this is an event that happened 2016 maybe.
Yeah,
and he's been in the UFC for quite a long time. It could be, my dates aren't exact, but the point is that it was real. It was like, we have the crystal clear footage. It was not filmed on a potato. It wasn't like an iPhone 1 camera somehow recording a video in 2022. No, this was the HD of HD. You can hear him and all of the things. So that was fascinating. So I've seen all kinds of stories, but this guy started the week according to the UFC and Tapology. Now, I'm not going to rag on Tapology. They do a wonderful job. And, this whole situation is crazy and confusing. So, shout out to Tapology for what they do. There's no shame in their record of 25-7 for how the week started. So 25-7 to 19-12. So he lost 6 wins and he gained 6 losses. I believe is how it turned out here. Never in my wildest dreams would I expect and run into something quite as crazy as this. So here he is, and I could ask you a question.
Yes.
Do you think, in light of this, the UFC is very aware, and for full disclosure, the UFC reached out to me personally,
really,
when this was going on, to ask me about the situation. And granted, they didn't speak about it on the broadcast. I understand why. They look foolish,
Right,
you
of
know,
course.
if they brought him in like that. I get it. But they understand what the deal is. Staff members have read the article to understand what's happening. Do you think, in light of the UFC knowing about this fraud, which is what it is, will they keep him? He lost by first round knockout. Do you think they'll hang on to him?
I don't. I don't think. I think he's gone now. But if I'm UFC brass,
yeah,
here's what I'm doing.
Sure.
He gets the next title shot once Jerry Prochazka wins. Wait. You need 3 losses to get kicked out the UFC.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's see who else is up there. So he's gonna fight Yuri.
Higher. Give him a Johnny Walker violence type.
No, we're gonna do either. We might do a rematch with Yuri, or we'll do Khalil Roundtree.
Oh boy.
We'll just let him get beat up, bro. Because that's what. And give him 3 more losses on this record. Give him a sub 500 record and be about it. But man, so I didn't know you and the UFC had reached out to you. That's actually pretty cool because I had tweeted about it. I was like, I wonder what the UFC is going to show his record as. And sure enough, it was 19-12. I was like, yes.
Yes, they acknowledge what went on without. Well, here's the interesting thing. The UFC has plenty of pre-shows. They have the pre-fights or whatever. They also have a I forget the name of it, but Between the Lines, or it's their betting show. It's John Anik, Johnny the Greek, and Nick Kalikas, who I've been, paying attention to Nick Kalikas, LFA days, all that beforehand.
Right.
I really like Nick Kalikas of all the I love John Anik too. Johnny is Johnny. And Nick is speaking about this on the show, and he talks about it very briefly. I don't know if it got by that the UFC didn't tamp it down. But I think he even said the F word of fraud in his little breakdown of it, because he's like, it's been giving me no end of grief because of how it keeps changing in the line. And there were unintended consequences about this. And I didn't even think about those. But of course, I'm not trying to think of it from any context other than it's an investigation. It's an expose. I'm telling a story here. So the betting line shifted by like 100 points on the last couple of days. It went from like minus 150 to minus 250.
That's
even
that was still like great money. I was like mad at myself when they closed the lines. I was like, oh, I know everything about this fight. I should have put the house on Alonzo.
Oh yeah. And
did you put the house?
No.
What?
No, there was about a quarter of a second where I'm like, well, I know about this, but then I thought, there's no regulation of this industry, so there's no such thing as insider trading. I would feel like I'm insider trading on this one, so I didn't even touch it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if our politicians can insider trade, I guess you can too.
Hey, man, you ain't lying. It was just the whole story, and its encapsulation is just it's unique. I mean, truly unique. There have been frauds in this. We're like Rafael Torre, the fake BJJ guy who was murderer, all that. There have been crazy sort of situations. Manny Reyes Jr. back in the day, Crippler, when he had a kind of a really fuzzy record and he was trying to get to the UFC, and all those. There have been kind of oddballs, but to straight up have like a dog and pony show or whatever you want to call this situation, and to get by the UFC, wow.
So do you think there's legal repercussions coming?
No, I think in fact, the UFC will unceremoniously dump him. After it won't be like, I don't think it'll be like this week. I think it will be like months to hang on to him, and then just
keep him in limbo.
November, like, oh yeah, he's out of here, no big deal, and we'll make it as quiet as possible because any noise about this, the story comes up.
Right.
And I understand, I understand from a promoter point. Like when the UFC reached out to me, I was under no illusions that they'd be like, oh, they're going to break the story on the UFC. I mean, I had my moment of, oh, I wonder if they're going to how they're going to talk about it.
Right.
But at the same time, they're a promoter and they don't look great in this situation.
No.
With bringing him on. And my fear, and this was the only time I was remotely afraid of anything that happened, is that the UFC would cancel the fight and kind of leave Alonzo Manafield holding the bucket.
Yep.
because he wouldn't. That was the only thing I was remotely concerned. I guess afraid. I don't know if that's the right word.
No,
But I was concerned that the UFC would just let him kind of be like, oh yeah, let's cut this guy, and then Menifield is going like, well, now what do I do? And that would just make me feel awful because you know all the time that he spent putting on. Because I know he works with Saxon and he works with Fortis. And all that time and energy and all the bruises and him beating up on Ryan Spann and all the things, all the back and forth, all that time would have been burned. But then he got the 2-check performance that he got. And
it was great. So I feel like this, I alluded to this in the beginning, but I feel like this, it could possibly open up a Watergate of, oh, wait, that is a good idea. But this also serves as a stark lesson to anybody wanting to do that, because Alonzo Menifield's a great fighter. He's not elite. He can become elite, but he's not elite yet. And if you're lying about your record, going in there, making yourself out to be something that you're not, you're going to get put in a crucifix and elbowed in the face, as we saw. I just feel like, I don't know what was going through his head. Like, I know a lot of fighters, sometimes they'll get delusional and think they're better than they are and they deserve bigger fights than they are. And that's probably what it was. But man, it was crazy how much the story changed as it went. I was like, this is better than UFC 223. The lead up to that with the bus incident and everything.
Which, by the way, was the first time that Felice Herrig and Carolina Kovacevic fought. A lot of people don't remember that they actually fought one time before this.
Full circle.
It's an entertaining story. I believe it was on Between the Links over on MMA Fighting. Jed Meshew and Drake Riggs and Mike Heck, of course, were talking about how this was kind of a middling whatever. I don't care about this fight night card, but this story turned it into one of intrigue and oh my gosh, I really want to see what's going to happen, to the level that all right. You and I and a lot of the people watching live in the MMA Twitter bubble, so to speak. So we're insulated. We hear that. And so we think this is the biggest thing in the world. Now, it might not be. But at the same time, I see a lot of pro fighters bringing in on it. Helwani touched on it. Obviously, Helwani's got a massive following on social media. That it could expand beyond that to think, people were really watching this fight, wondering what the heck was going to happen. And that's something that wouldn't have been anything. This was a nondescript, a light heavyweight banger. That's all it was.
I would have been mad about this fight, honestly. I'm like, oh, light heightweight's great. I got to get through this.
Yeah, that's great.
Menifield's kind of fun.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of like how it is that Menifield. Yeah, Menifield's good. Like Alonzo Menifield is a UFC level fighter. Like, again, that's better than all but like 50 light heavyweights in the world,
right?
So he's still here, and this is that kind of that rude awakening that just got real moment when you step up and have what you did and represent yourself a certain way to make people think you can be at that level. And I don't know if it was the double. I think it was the double. I think it was the very first double that he took him down like he could take me down. Like, right. And I never have taken I never had any wrestling training of any kind. My point is it was just, this is what's going to happen. I'm taking you down and there's nothing you can do about it. And had he been a legitimate 25-7 fighter with more experience and better, whatever it may have been, maybe he could have been prepared for it, but he wasn't. And the only thing that could make it more interesting is that there have been individuals that have reached out to me claiming that there are more losses he has suffered in China that have not been documented.
Oh, are y'all on the hunt for those?
We're looking to see what's going on here. And again, in case you were listening, Askar, you got to understand, there's nothing personal about any of this. The only thing that might have been personal is when you, the individual fighter, decided to contact a staff member privately on Facebook, which, by the way, I don't even have this staff member on Facebook. I like to do this and go about it this way after years of this. That would be where it came from. That's where it started. Because once the fighter breached every protocol and went about it this way. The investigation that followed was a standard investigation that would happen for anybody's record that's in dispute, period, the end. So if the allegations of the trying to destroy his career or whatever, anything like that, you have to understand the videos I posted are the videos of you fighting in those fights.
Yeah.
You know, there's no, in this article that you, Blaine, and the audience or whomever reading that will know, there's no exaggerations. There's no parts of my opinion because there's no need for it. Like the very last paragraph, to quote a little part of it, if you don't mind. This was about a person who wrote in claiming that a loss wasn't his, that there were a few more wins on his record that weren't attributed properly. This person said, quote, and this is after explaining those things, quote, "After all, Askar used to be negligent about fights. He has several defeats at the start, which he generally lost on purpose, being a teenager because he needed the money," unquote. I don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
I don't have this. I mean, what is the Twitter go, presented without comment or what have you? Yeah. It is simply, this is a verbatim. I copied and pasted from the email that was provided about this. This is not I don't have to interject. I don't have to say my opinion. He really said these things. The person really reached out. The poster, the fake poster of the fake guy fighting, the please clean this for talking about an event. This is all stuff and information was sent to us on his behalf. So these are all self-inflicted wounds to the point that it would be funny if it weren't sad. But is it that twisted version of it now becomes funny again? I don't know where we are.
In the same coin.
I think we're circling around it again and again.
I'm gonna close it with this. I don't want to keep you too long. I know you got work to do.
No problem.
You said Askar, mentioned if he's listening, it's not a personal attack on you. I agree. This podcast isn't a personal attack on you, but when I'm laughing, I am laughing at you. I'm laughing at your stupidity. And I'm laughing at your foolishness because, come on, bro, it was dumb. And Askar Mozharov seems like the type of guy that would YouTube himself and find this podcast and listen to us talking about it. That's just my thing. And I can say that because I'm more independent than you are, and I don't really care. I don't let what you gonna do? Come get me? Oh, come on, bro. But I am laughing at you because it's hilarious what you've done. You provided me, honestly, your fight, Askar, if you are listening, I paid attention to that more than I did Alexander Volkov and Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I was like, man, I can't wait. I got to see this guy lose. I was laughing. It was great. But anyways, Jay, I appreciate you. We're going to have to do this again, man, because it's always a blast. What kind of work you got coming down the pipeline, and where can everybody find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at jpettry. I don't really have an Instagram to work with because I write most of my content. I don't have pictures to go with it. Any pictures and illustrations on these articles are courtesy of Ben Duffy, who works for Sherdog. In the pipeline, there are more FF Files pieces that are coming. Ooh. There will, however, be a change of tone in the next one. Because obviously this was this was an excoriation of sorts. Yeah. The next one will be very positive and uplifting, and almost like a thank you, because of what some things that happen. You'll have to stay tuned for that one. But there, I promise you, will be more stories and more chronicles like this. There are a couple that I work on the pipeline. But right now, just for a last quick to let you in the audience know what the heck is happening. In my current pipeline of FF Files pieces, there are right now 8 of them that are structures and storyboards and those kinds of things like that to put it together. So I promise you, my friends, there will be more comedy to come.
And I'll get those linked into the show notes.
Yes, sir. Sherdog.com, FF Files. It's a pleasure to do these, and I hope that everybody enjoys them. And I really appreciate you bringing me out here to talk about this. This is a lot of fun.
You should do an FF File on Damir.
I might. There has been one so far. There has been one article I have written that has been about the I think we call it huge or true or something, about this was real. This was an actual thing that succeeded. It was right, or oh my gosh, it was actually my brother. It wasn't me. One of those things was real.
Yeah.
So usually it's nonsensical, but the stories of no, this is legitimate. I think I might have nine FF Files pieces in the works now.
Yes. Jay, thanks again, man. I appreciate you, and I will catch you on the next one.